ITeachGeek.com. Ask Brian.
That's me.
Welcome to iTeach Geek. I'm your host Rashad. I'm going to show you how to configure your disk management. When you put a new disk in, this is how you would have it to show up in Windows, because when you first put it in, you won't see it. So you would go ahead and go to Start and go to Computer and right-click Manage. You're going to click on Disk Management. All right. When you click on Disk Management, a pop-up should come up, and you should go ahead and pick the first option and press OK. All right. When you come in here, you will see it right here, unless you have other disk in there, but it should be the second disk, and this should be the disk that you have your operating system in. And you can see the disk that operating system has a couple more partitions on it. This is my Ubuntu partition with my Ubuntu on here, and yours should be right here. So to get the disk to show up, you want to go ahead and right click. Want to do a new simple volume. You want to go to next. You can allocate all the space you want to for this partition, or if you don't, you can pick how much you want, or you can always change it. I'll show you that later. So we go ahead and press next. You sign it a drive letter. We can call it G. You can name the volume if you want to, whatever you want. You can call it like my data or backup, whatever you want to call it. And you press next. Finish. All right, after it's finished, you should get a pop-up, a nice little pop-up. And it should show that a new volume's there. You open it up and you can see there's nothing there. You see in my computer, these two volumes are here. These two right here are still those two partitions I have for Ubuntu, so don't pay attention to these. Right here, this volume is the new volume you have, and that's your new disk. All right, let's say that you wanted to put something else on that disk and you wanted to partition it again, and you use the whole partition. So they have a nice little feature in here. You can right click, you can shrink the volume, and you can shrink it down to how many megabytes you want. So let's go ahead and shrink this volume. Go ahead and shrink, press shrink. And I just shrinked it halfway. So now you can make a new partition right here if you wanted to. Or let's say you feel like you run out of space and you wanted to add another disk. So you could just right click. Let's go ahead and extend the volume. And let's say we want to extend it to disk 2. You will add it. And now when you go to start, you see that it took up both disks. And now you have extended your disk to with more space. All right, let's go ahead and delete that, both of them. Now let's say you have some very important data on this one, and you wanted to back it up at all times. So you go ahead and press new mirror, and you click on this disk and you add it. You're going to add this too, and press next. You can name it once again, but we're not going to name it. All right, when you go back to start, you notice that you only have 20 gigs available, but it is mirroring to that other disk. And it also decreases your time speed of your disk because you're writing into 2 drives at the same time. But it is the safe way to go if you want to back up anything from one drive to the next one. And speaking of that, because of how Windows 7 is built, you only can mirror the system reserve and not the C drive. And the system reserve is your boot file. Is there just in case you get a virus or something like that, and people will mess up things like that. So they split them up. Okay, the next thing I want to show you, let's say you have 3 disks, if you don't have hardware RAID, so you can do a software RAID. So we're gonna go ahead and delete both of these, break the mirror. Also, I want to add, if this disk failed and this was mirroring it, you wouldn't even tell, because if this wasn't working, this one just running its place. So okay, I'm gonna show you how to do a software RAID. So we have 3 disks. We want to RAID. I'm gonna RAID all 3 of them. So we're gonna go ahead and do a new stripe volume. I'm gonna go ahead and add all 3. We call it G. Go ahead and keep the volume label. You can always change it later. Now you have these 3 drives RAID 0. You go to computer, and all 3 of them are right here. They're striped, and they're all seen as one drive. If you don't understand RAID, you can. It's plenty of stuff on Google for you to read up. But essentially, RAID 0 writes little parts of each. Like, let's say you have a music file. It writes a little bit of music file on this disk, and that disk, and it just goes through all of them. So if one disk fails, that's the downfall of RAID 0. If one disk fails, you cannot access your data. So it's very risky. So be careful if you do choose this option, because if one disk fails, you will lose all your data. All right, I'm gonna show you the nice little span feature. So let's go ahead and we're gonna make a new stripe real quick. Go ahead and give it 10 gigs. All right, let's say this is already taken, right? And you only have 10 gigs left on this disk. So we have 20 gigs left over here. So we go ahead and create a new span. Go ahead and click and add this next one. So we go ahead and make this a span. So go ahead and press next. We're going to call it H. Next, finish. Yes. And now that 9 gigs turned to 29 gigs essentially. Go to computer. And there you have it. That's a new span. So it's a nice little feature. It's almost like Extend, but a little different. All right. The last option is a RAID 5. It's just like RAID 0, but a little different. Has different things about the disk. Like I said, read up on your RAIDs to know what each one of them does. And if you ever want to delete a partition, you just right click on it from here, and you can just delete the volume. I can delete both of my Ubuntu if I want to. Be very careful in here. You can really mess some things up. You never want to mess with these 2. This is your system reserve. You never want to delete this. You probably can't. I never tried it. I don't know if you probably could delete the system reserve while you're on here right now, but I'm pretty sure you can't delete this. Yeah, you can't delete this, but you probably can delete this. Yeah, so make sure you don't delete that, because you won't be able to boot back into Windows. If you do delete it, you can always fix it with your startup disk, your Windows 7 disk. If you really have a problem with it, you can always put it and repair your Windows, and you can get it back. But go ahead and play around with it and make some new stripes, or even just add a new simple disk, a brand new disk you put in. So now you know how it works, and be careful out there. I'm your host, Rashad. Thanks for watching.